It was the heist of the century, a $9 million robbery pulled off by a group of ordinary men. They weren't master thieves. They weren't criminal geniuses. They were just a mechanic, a boxer, a petty thief, and a small-time crook. But in 1972, they did the impossible. They drilled into a bank vault, disabled the alarms, and vanished with a fortune. For a while, it seemed like the perfect crime. But their one fatal mistake would bring the FBI crashing down on them. This is the shocking true story of the United California bank robbery, the heist that stunned America, the manhunt that rewrote the rules, and the mystery of the missing millions that still haunts us today. The morning after the heist, the United California Bank was in chaos. The vault was wide open, safe deposit boxes were ransacked, and $9 million was gone. But for the gang, life was about to get very, very interesting. The crew divided the stolen cash and valuables, each taking their share. Some buried their portions in remote locations, while others stashed it in safe houses or with trusted acquaintances. The gang went into hiding, scattering across the country to avoid detection. Emil Dincio and his brother James fled to Ohio, while Phil Christopher and the Barber brothers laid low in California. Charles Brokaw, the nervous petty thief, tried to blend into small-town life but couldn't shake the paranoia of being caught. For a while, it seemed like the gang had pulled off the perfect crime. They were living the high life, flashy cars, expensive suits, and nights out on the town. But beneath the surface, cracks were starting to show. Emil Dincio, the mastermind, tried to live a quiet life, but his newfound wealth attracted attention. He spent lavishly on cars and property, which eventually drew the suspicion of local authorities. James Dincio, the explosives expert, struggled to stay under the radar. He was known for throwing wild parties, which only increased the risk of being caught. Phil Christopher, the alarm expert, tried to lay low, but his technical skills made him a person of interest for the FBI. He also had a girlfriend who began to suspect something was off about his sudden wealth. Harry and Ronald Barber, the muscle of the operation, lived large, buying expensive jewelry and taking trips to Las Vegas. But their flashy lifestyle made them easy targets for the FBI. And Charles Brokaw, the petty thief, couldn't handle the pressure. He spent his share recklessly, buying drinks for strangers and bragging about his big score. His behavior eventually led to his downfall. The gang's downfall wasn't just due to their own mistakes, it was also the people around them. Girlfriends, acquaintances, and even family members played a role in their eventual capture. Phil Christopher's girlfriend began to suspect he was involved in something illegal when he started spending large amounts of cash. Her suspicions eventually led her to contact the FBI. Charles Mulligan, one of the robbers, was arrested on unrelated charges. Under pressure, he cracked and revealed details about the heist, including the names of his accomplices. The gang's lavish spending also attracted attention from locals, some of whom tipped off the FBI about their activities. The FBI wasn't about to let this one go. This was the biggest bank robbery in US history at the time, and the pressure was on to solve the case. They studied every detail of the crime scene, the drill marks on the vault, the cut phone lines, and even the faintest fingerprints left behind. The break in the case came when Charles Mulligan confessed, revealing the names of his accomplices and the locations of hidden stashes of loot. The FBI launched a nationwide manhunt, tracking down the gang members in a series of dramatic raids. Emil Dincio was arrested in Ohio, while Phil Christopher and the Barber brothers were caught in California. After their arrests, the gang members were held in custody while the FBI and prosecutors prepared their case. This period was a tense waiting game for everyone involved. The gang, once living the high life, now found themselves behind bars, facing the reality of their actions. Meanwhile, the FBI worked tirelessly to gather evidence, interview witnesses, and ensure they had an airtight case. The pressure was on. This was the biggest bank robbery in US history at the time, and the world was watching. For Emil Dincio, the mastermind, those months were especially difficult. He had always been the one in control, the one with the plan. But now, he was at the mercy of the legal system. His brother James, the explosives expert, tried to stay defiant, but even he couldn't hide the strain. Phil Christopher, the alarm specialist, kept to himself, while the Barber brothers, Harry and Ronald, relied on their tough guy personas to get through the days. And Charles Brokaw, the nervous petty thief, struggled the most, unable to cope with the reality of his situation. The trial of the United California bank robbers was a media sensation. The gang was charged with multiple counts of burglary, theft, and conspiracy. The courtroom was filled with dramatic moments, from witness testimonies to heated arguments between the defense and prosecution. Emil Dincio was sentenced to 10 years in prison but was released early for good behavior. James Dincio, Phil Christopher, and the Barber brothers received similar sentences. Charles Brokaw, the petty thief, was also sentenced to 10 years but struggled to adapt to life behind bars. Despite the FBI's best efforts, not all of the $9 million was recovered. Some of the loot was found buried in remote forests, while other portions were hidden in safe houses. But to this day, rumors persist that millions are still out there, waiting to be discovered. The gang had buried portions of the loot in remote locations, including forests and abandoned properties. Some of these stashes were never found. Over the years, there have been countless theories about where the missing millions might be. Could it still be buried in some forgotten corner of the country? Or was it spent long ago, funding a life of luxury for someone who got away? The United California bank robbery wasn't just a crime, it was a cultural phenomenon. It exposed flaws in bank security, leading to tighter regulations and better protection for safe deposit boxes. It also became a legend, inspiring books, documentaries, and even movies. After their release from prison, some of the gang members tried to live quiet lives, while others returned to a life of crime. But none of them ever pulled off another heist like the United California bank robbery. So, what do you think happened to the missing millions? Could it still be out there, buried in some remote location, waiting to be found? Let me know your theories in the comments below. And if you haven't seen part 1 of this story yet, go watch it now. It's the ultimate deep dive into how these ordinary men pulled off the impossible, and the one mistake that brought their perfect crime crashing down. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon for more incredible true crime stories and historical mysteries. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.